On today's Strictly Vikings, we're going to run through the Titans game recap. The Minnesota Vikings are 8-2, but judging by this fan base, you would not think that is the case. We're going to take our side-eye look around the league. The Packers got absolutely bailed out. I'm going to get into that a little bit more. Of course, we'll take our Facebook scroll of the week. We're going to preview the Bears game, and of course, we'll finish it all off with our Chat GPT player of the day. Let's get into it. Today is Wednesday, November 20th, and the Minnesota Vikings are 8-2. But just like I said in the intro, judging by this fan base's reaction, it does not seem like this team is 6 games above 500. 8-2. We were projected to win 6 games this season. We've already won 8 in 10 games. 8 out of 10 games have been wins. And this fan base is still striving for more. They want more out of this team because they see what's going on around the NFL and around the NFC North and how teams are winning games. But yet, when it all boils down, a win is a win. And I said this on Twitter the other day that comparing wins, or I should say it this way, comparing common opponents, quote unquote, the Lions beat the Jags by this much, and the Vikings only beat the Jags by this much, so the Lions are a much better team, is such a lazy way to determine who's a better NFL team. Why don't we look at the matchup when the Vikings and Lions played if we want to compare them? Why don't we look at a game that came down to a last-second field goal in order for the Lions to pull that one out? Wouldn't that be a more accurate representation of comparing Vikings and Lions teams? Anyway, we'll get more into that around the side I look around the league when we talk about the Lions a little bit more. But the Vikings took care of business. Let's start with the offense, as we always do. First things first, people saying the Vikings got bailed by the refs clearly haven't been paying attention to the Vikings this season. Sure, the Vikings got some calls, but what NFL team doesn't get calls in every single game? I know every single Vikings opponent this season has gotten a game-changing call. I think the unnecessary roughness on Addison in the end zone, I feel like that was a flag. The touchdown called back for illegal formation against the Titans, I mean, that's been a call they've been making all season. And I think you guys, or I think not you guys, my listeners are smart because they listen to me. But not you guys. I would say some of the general fan base seems to forget that the Titans are a bad team and bad teams make mistakes like that, mistakes that cost you games, mistakes that hold you back from being a lot better team. That's what bad teams do. And I think a lot of fans fail to realize that. The Titans made some bad mistakes and they made a couple good plays here and there, but all around there's not that good of a team. Sam Darnold played one of his better games as a Minnesota Viking. For sure, his best game in the last couple of weeks. You could honestly say that was maybe Sam Darnold's best game as a Viking. The spinouts and scrambling was at an absolute all-time high, but they were actually exciting to watch, and it was working for a majority of the time. He did a great job escaping pressure. Dalton Reisner stepped in for Ed Ingram. I haven't really watched the film. I think it was a pretty similar performance to maybe what we would have gotten out of Ed Ingram. But at the same time, first game in the NFL, not first game in the NFL, but first game this season, and you're going up against Jeffrey Simmons, that's a matchup made in hell for anyone checking into their first game in 10 games. I thought he played all right. His name wasn't mentioned all that much. Of course, it can always be better with this Vikings interior offensive line. But Sam Darnold, I mean, the scrambling was definitely on display. Kirk Cousins definitely gets sacked most of those plays, but the spinouts were good. The thing I've noticed about the Sam Darnold spinouts is they're a lot tighter. I feel like I feel like they've been he used to run backwards like 7, 8 yards when he would spin out, but now I feel like he's spinning at maybe like 2 to 3, and it's like a quick spin. He gets his head around. He's constantly looking downfield. That one that he hit Jefferson on, that was a great play. And I saw a tweet, my good guy Jason Harmon, my good friend, he said if Patrick Mahomes did this, and it was the play where he scrambled out, hit someone on the run. If Patrick Mahomes does this, it's talked about for the next 3 weeks, and that's facts. Nobody's mentioning it because it was Sam Darnold and it was against the Titans, but it was one hell of a play by Sam Darnold to get out of that. Um, Sam was hanging Jordan Addison out to dry some plays, but J.A. looked tough out there. Probably his best game of the season. That long touchdown that he had, that was just a big sigh of relief. Titans go down, get a field goal. Vikings are behind, but then the next drive, you're able to march down the field a little bit, and then you hit JA on that crossing pattern, and it was just boom. Like that's what this offense is supposed to look like. 8 targets for both Addison and Jefferson. I feel like that is the minimum. 16 targets need to be dispersed between those two guys almost every game. I feel like that is a must have for this offense going forward. About to sneeze, excuse me. Excuse me. But yeah, that touchdown was a big sigh of relief for this fan base once JA was able to get loose there. The Aaron Jones fumble was a fluke. You can say you need to hold on to the ball, not turn it over, but and that is 100,000% true. But at the same time, that turnover isn't going to happen again. Like that's not something you need to watch and film and dissect and be like, how can we make this not happen this week? Like that's something you just look at, you move on from. This isn't us. This isn't Sam Darnold. This isn't Aaron Jones. That's not what we do. We don't fumble the ball on a pitch play. That's just a one-off fumble that can easily be fixed. And I'll probably jinx it now, but I highly doubt something like that will happen again this season. And on the very next possession, they went right back to the same exact play on the first play from on that drive. And that's something I love. You want to get it right. You want to get the confidence back in Aaron Jones and Sam Darnold that they can make that play, and it was just a fluke. So going back to that play right away was something I really liked from Kevin O'Connell. Meanwhile, Cam Akers played fantastic. In both the run and pass game, he was making important plays, and he's going to be a fantastic option for this offense going down the stretch. I thought Cam Akers was a perfect complementary piece to Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones' usage rate has been like at an all-time high, and he's approaching 30 years of age. So I think getting Cam Akers those touches and Cam Akers doing something with those touches has been a very important part of this offense to be able to, take the burden off Aaron Jones, how it kind of was earlier in the season when Ty Chandler maybe couldn't capitalize on his opportunities at first. But I think Cam Akers has been playing great ball as of late. The offense had a massive drive after that 98-yard touchdown to get back into the scoring column. It was a prove that you have control of this game. Prove that you weren't going to let this game spiral out of control. Prove that this momentum wasn't going anywhere. The Vikings controlled that game almost the entire time. We'll talk about it a little bit later in Facebook Scroll of the Week, but there was never really a time in that game where I felt nervous about losing. It was closer than I wanted it to be, but there was never like a time where I'm like, oh my God, the Vikings need to do this right now. I felt like we were in control for almost the entire game. Some things that I'd like to see improve. Obviously, getting the ball to JA and JJ when you need it the most, I think is important. Sam hit Naylor on some targets the last couple of weeks, honestly, in that Rams game and this game. And Naylor has capitalized on some opportunities earlier in the season, but as of late, he's just seemed to be dropping the bag a little bit. That deep touchdown, Sam would have had a stellar day if he would have caught that ball, in which he should have. It hit him right in the numbers. But I'd love to see the ball go to Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison when you need it the most. I think that's most important. I don't think they have not been doing it. I mean, they have. Like, it's not to an extreme point, I would say, but, get the ball to your best playmakers when you can. Uh, I didn't think the offense played all that bad. Um, Obviously, the turnover, that didn't help. But I mean, this Titans defense is a lot better than people make it out to be. The Titans are a bad team, but that's mostly because of that offense. That offense is bad. That defense has got some serious pieces. That secondary, a lot of guys have stepped up. Obviously, Jeffrey Simmons on the defensive line is an absolute game wrecker. Um, but this Titans defense isn't nearly as bad as people make it out to be. We talked about Dalton Reisner a little bit. I think he did all right. Um, this run game definitely needs to get going. It's the interior offensive line and Jeffrey Simmons just playing a huge factor in that. Um, Congrats to Justin Jefferson. He becomes the player with the most receiving yards in his first 5 seasons of his NFL career, and he still has 7 games to play this season. I mean, that could be another 1,000 for Justin Jefferson easily. That could easily be another 1,000 yards. Insane stuff. At this rate, he doesn't have the touchdowns right now, but my God, he might go down as the best wide receiver of all time. Just the way he sees the field. KOC commented on it today, saying that no other wide receiver in the game is seeing the way Justin Jefferson sees the defense, what to read, how to run his routes. Nobody else is doing it like Justin Jefferson, and KOC acknowledged that today. Let's get to the defense here. Again, I didn't talk about the defense much last week because honestly, there's not a lot to talk about. They're going out, they're handling their business, and they just do things at an NFL professional level. And with B-Flow calling the shots, it's a match made in heaven for all of these players. Again, it was the second drive of the game after the Vikings turnover that they let up points. And then, of course, that 98-yard bomb where Josh Metellus just kind of flipped his hips at the wrong time, got caught in a bad position. And Josh Metellus has never really been a coverage guy, but that one's not going to end up on the highlight reel for sure. But again, it's a one-off play. I don't think the Vikings defense played all that bad. If that's the only touchdown you're allowing is kind of a fluke play like that, you had a good day for sure. Blake Cashman might be the most important part of this defense. His ability to cover guys, blitz the passer, and fit run gaps is unbelievable. He's easily one of the most underrated defenders in the entire NFL and one of the most underrated free agent signings across the board. Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, easily. I'm going to make a video on this. When you're listening to this, I posted a video yesterday, but Kwesi Adofo-Mensah easily had his best offseason as the Vikings GM. He signed John Grenard, Andrew Van Ginkel, Blake Cashman to this defense. Those are the 3 highest rated guys on this defense this season thus far. Not to mention Stephon Gilmore and Shaquille Griffin, great signings in a secondary that needed a lot of work, some much needed work. Pat Jones continues to get sacks because I feel like if you're going to leave one guy unblocked, it might as well be Pat Jones. Pat Jones did get one sack that all sacks are earned. Let's just say that. But let's just say he actually did make a move and sacked a guy. I think it was his second sack. He might have done it. But you can tell a lot of teams are leaving him because if you're going to leave one guy on that defensive line, it'd be Pat Jones. Run defense was locked in once again. If you're an opposing team and you simply can't run the ball against this defense, it's going to make things very, very difficult when the blitz starts coming, when you really need to pass the ball. The Vikings play a lot of 3 safety looks. It's going to be difficult for any offense to get going if you can't establish the run game. And the 2 games that the Vikings really got gashed in the run was when Blake Cashman was out. So obviously he plays a huge, huge role. Harrison Smith, some stats coming out of this game. Harrison Smith, he's one of 5 players in NFL history to have 35 plus interceptions and 20 plus sacks in a career. Insane stuff. Hall of Fame, probably first ballot Hall of Fame. Unbelievable stuff. And he's still extremely underrated for all that he does on this Vikings defense, what he's been doing for this Vikings defense for years. Um, Vikings finished the game with 5 sacks, 1 interception, and 13 points allowed. You're going to win a lot of football games if you continue to do that. What the Vikings points allowed the last 3 weeks have been 6 points against the Colts, in which 3 of them were given up, and another 3 were garbage time. 7 against the Jags, and then 13 against the Titans, which one was a 98-yard touchdown fluke score. I mean, this defense is absolutely locking these guys down. The Vikings sweep the AFC South. Anytime you can sweep a division, that's a very good sign, no matter how the good division is or isn't. It's a good sign to sweep a division. That's 4 wins right there. CBS highlighted the defense acquisitions. AVG, Grenard, Cashman, and Gilmore were mentioned. Not to mention Shaquille Griffin, like I said. Kwesi easily one of his best off seasons. To wrap it up, I think the one thing that I've kind of been noticing the last couple of weeks is that it's crazy that a team with Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson, Aaron Jones, and Kevin O'Connell calling the plays, their identity is their defense. It's pretty crazy. And that makes you excited because if the defense is the best unit on this team, and yet the Vikings have all of those weapons on offense with a mastermind calling the plays, that means this team can be very, very, very dangerous come playoff time if this defense is still playing lights out and the offense hits their stride at the exact right time, which I think they're going to be. All around, a win is a win, no matter how it looks. 8-2, one of the best teams in the NFC, one of the best teams in the NFL. The schedule gets a little bit harder coming up. Bears, Falcons, Cardinals, but all very winnable games, especially the way the Falcons looked yesterday or on Sunday. Sorry. Speaking of that, side eye look around the league. That's the most bullshit way. Actually, let me phrase it this way. That is the most Packers-Bears finish I have ever seen in my entire life. The Packers had absolutely no business winning that game. No business. They got outplayed. I'm not going to say they got outcoached because that Matt Eberflus is a dweeberflus. They got outplayed. They got out hustled, and they did not deserve to win that game. Jordan Love keeps throwing picks. He's thrown a pick in every single game he's played in. That's concerning. That's very concerning. That's not a good thing. And honestly, this was the Bears' chance to get the season back on track. Not saying they're going to make the playoffs, not saying they're going to make a run, but like turn this thing around, get some momentum heading into next year. But it just results in a heartbreaking loss that's going to be extremely difficult to recover from. The Bears, before this game, I mean, even after this game, have absolutely nothing going for them. And now it's the same thing. And you're just taking another absolutely heartbreaking loss. But it just pisses me off because the Vikings don't have that witchcraft like the Packers do. I was talking about it last week too. If the Vikings had an ounce of that Packers, Chiefs, Patriots witchcraft, whatever it is, we'd have a Super Bowl. No doubt about it. But I don't know what it is about this franchise that the Vikings can't get a teaspoon of that witchcraft. They simply just can't get it. And when you're trying to win a Super Bowl, you 1000% need some luck on your side. You 1000% need some luck. One way you put it in, you're going to need some luck. The Lions continue to dominate. It was just an absolute joke of a game from the start. I was thinking about taking the Jaguars plus 14, but then I sat back and thought about it, and I'm like, really? Am I really going to bet on Mac Jones right now? And again, I mentioned it earlier. Looking at opponents and saying so-and-so team beat this team by X amount of points, and this team only beat this team by X amount of points, it's the stupidest and most waste of time argument that you can have when comparing teams. There is a million things that go into an NFL game: matchups, play calling, time and place, home field, whatever it is. Whatever it is. You can look at a million. You can look at a million charts, stats, advanced analytics, whatever you want to look at to make you feel better about your team or your stance, whatever you have. But when the ball is snapped, all of that bullshit goes out the window. All of it. All of it goes out the window. Do you think the Jaguars care about the Lions EPA per play against all this crap? Do you think the defensive lineman is really sitting there being like, we're not going to win this game because the Lions EPA against outside zone is this and we suck at? The players don't care. They don't care about any of that bullshit. It's just fans, pardon. It's just fans that try and make themselves feel better one way or another. When the ball is snapped and the ball is kicked off, it simply doesn't matter what the advanced analytics say. There's a reason they play the damn games. I'll leave it at that. There's a reason they play the damn games. And I'm not trying to say the Lions aren't good, but I'm saying the Lions beating the Jags by 46 is a win. The Vikings beating the Jags by 5 is a win, and it's all worth the same. I think the only time it maybe not be worth the same is like an extreme amount of tiebreakers. And it's safe to say the Vikings aren't going to have the point differential against the Lions in that aspect. But still, a win is a win. And I hate people saying that, oh, the Lions are so much better. We lost to the Lions on a game-winning field goal. Let's put it that way. The Chiefs lose a game. It was a game that they were winning. It was the type of game that they have won like all season, but the Bills are just a better team than the ones that like the Chiefs have been pulling that out against. Like you can say the Ravens, obviously, but that was week 1. A couple different things, but those were the games they were winning, and they finally lost. The Chiefs are good. People are going to overreact about this loss. The Chiefs are a really good team. And you can say Patrick Mahomes hasn't looked right, and he hasn't at all. But at the same time, come playoff time, you're not going to bet on the Chiefs? You're not going to bet money that Mahomes is going to win a playoff game? Like, let's be real here. Rams stay in the race for the NFC West and the wild card. The Rams are a good team. And listen, I wasn't surprised that the Vikings lost because it was a tough week for them, tough matchup. But when this Rams team is fully healthy, they're a really good team in the NFC. It's going to be a tight race in the NFC West. I think the Cardinals are at top at 6-4. Then everyone else is at 5-5. I think there's only room for one of those teams to make the playoffs, and it's going to be really interesting to see which one pulls it out. Kirk Cousins, man, Vikings fans know all too well about the stage that the Falcons are in right now, getting blown out by mediocre teams. That's a Kirk Cousins staple. And I mean, they didn't get blown out. They got curb stomped. That was a terrible game that was over from the jump, and Kirk Cousins got benched. And again, second time it's happened this year. I think he got benched because it was a blowout. But at the same time, you don't like to see that at all. And maybe Falcons fans do like to see it. They got a first round quarterback sitting behind Kirk. But at the same time, it's nothing to be excited over. Your starting quarterback getting benched. Let's be for real here. Steelers pull out a win. They're a legit team in the AFC and in the NFL. Russell Wilson makes this offense a lot more dynamic than Justin Fields did. Even though the offense didn't get in the end zone, Chris Boswell did a great job. The Ravens don't get me wrong, the Ravens are still one of the best teams in the NFL. And if these teams played again tomorrow, I'd probably bet on the Ravens. It's just the Ravens-Steelers matchup. Whoever's home, whoever's the underdog seems to always pull it out. Tough games, tough divisional games. Going back all the way back to Thursday Night Football, the Eagles are looking like a legit team. Like the Eagles are a legit threat to the Detroit Lions. The way the rosters stack up, home field advantage is going to be a big thing come playoff time. But The Eagles are right on the Lions' tails for that number 1 seed in the NFC. And if the Lions slip up, the Eagles have a good chance. The Eagles have a tough schedule, but the Lions got some games too. So we'll see how it all plays out. But the Eagles are a legit threat in the NFC to the Lions because the Lions look far and above like the best team in the NFC right now, and they are. But the Eagles are not too far behind them. On the other hand, the Commanders are still a good team. Jane Daniels looks like he's banged up, though. He hasn't been really running the same. He hasn't been doing much of the same lately ever since those ribs got banged up. But I still have a lot of faith in the Commanders. Um, all around, good week in the NFL. There was some really crummy games. There were some good games, but you live another Sunday. You can't complain about football because when football isn't here, it absolutely sucks. So let's get that right. All right, let's get into it. Facebook scroll of the week. It's going to be a lot of negativity from these Vikings fans. First one. It is crazy to see that Detroit score versus the Jags. We literally squeaked out a win last week, and they are beating the Jags by 46. 162 comments. Again, I'm not going to go on much of a rant because I already went through this, but at the same time, a win is a win. I'll leave it at that. Someone said, thought Zimmer was supposed to be a defensive genius. My God, I didn't even talk about the Cowboys. The Cowboys suck. Like they're terrible. Nothing on offense, nothing on defense. They got the household names and CeeDee Lamb and Micah Parsons, but my God, other than that, when you still got Zeke Elliott out there running routes, come on, dude. It's bad. It's a bad watch. They probably still have like 5 or 6 primetime games in the last 7 weeks because, oh my God, Giants Cowboys on Thanksgiving. Get your naps in, folks. Spend time with your family. Please, for the love of God, do not sit down and grind out a Giants Cowboys game on Thanksgiving in the middle of the day. Please take a nap. Please spend time with your family. Do not sit down on the couch expecting a good football game. Tommy DeVito and Cooper Rush. That's the game we're getting. Oh my God, what a joke. But yeah, no, Zimmer definitely fell off. And I don't think Zimmer has a lot to work with on this defense at all. But still, I mean, Mike Zimmer towards the end of his Vikings tenure, he was just doing stuff that simply didn't work in the NFL anymore. It's simple as that. Someone said, "Wait, am I missing something? Why does everyone keep saying the Lions are going to win the North? They do know the Vikings are in the NFC North, right? I mean, this is facts. Like, people are just chalking it up for the Lions to win the North. Vikings are 8-2. And one of their losses to the Lions, a close one. And if the Vikings beat the Lions week 18, there's a very good chance that could be for the division. Let's not get ahead of ourselves now, but it definitely could be for the division. The Vikings are in the NFC North. People be forgetting that. You tell them, person. Someone said Naylor is so overrated. First of all, can you say a dude is overrated if he's not even like rated? Like, I don't know who's out here like, oh my God, Jalen Naylor is like top 10 NFL wide receiver. Like, nobody's saying that, but like, who's out here rating Jalen Naylor? I don't know how you can overrate someone who isn't rated. How he is our number 3 amazes me. I mean, I still feel like he's a solid wide receiver 3. He might make some mistakes here and there, like I mentioned earlier, but he's a wide receiver 3 for a reason. Let's put it at that. Powell is a better wide receiver. Hell, even speedy Tristan Jackson. So this dude's just got it all switched around. Jalen Naylor is speedy. Tristan Jackson is Tristan Jackson. I don't mind him saying he likes Brandon Powell better because I wouldn't mind that either. I like Brandon Powell, just veteran wide receiver 3. I get that. But at the same, I mean, and then he leaves it off. People are confused. I'm confused at this entire thing. Let me read it one more time. Naylor is so overrated. This English is crazy. How he is our number 3 amazes me. Powell is a better wide receiver. Hell, hell, even Speedy in parentheses Tristan. It's Tristan Jackson. People are confused. That's a just a mouthful. This dude doesn't look like he's a child, but he very well could be. I don't know. Moving on. I don't mind the fact that I think Jalen Nailor is a serviceable wide receiver 3. Let's just say that. Now, how many Vikings fans are missing Kirk Cousin? Sorry. Now, how many Viking fan are missing Kirk Cousin? That's the thing. Um, I think there was a poll that came out. Um, I want to say a couple years ago that I saw it. It was the dumbest fan bases in the NFL. I think the Vikings were number one on that list, as in the dumbest fan base in the NFL. Uh, Now, how many Viking fan are missing Kirk Cousin? I get it's a social media post, but at the same time, it's like, come on, let's get some grammar. I'm not really missing Kirk. Don't get me wrong. If I could replace Sam Darnold with Kirk Cousins right now, I would 1000%. Would I do it if the contracts were involved? No, not one bit. I like the flexibility of being able to do stuff on defense rather than paying Kirk Cousins all that money. So, someone said NFL is rigged. Refs are screwing Tennessee. Vikes paid off the refs. This is bullshit. See how stupid that sounds? That's what the dude said, not me. I do see how stupid that sounds. Again, the calls against the Titans were a lot more like 50-50 calls than they were a blatant face mask in the middle of the or at the end of the fourth quarter in the end zone in front of 2 referees. So, an illegal formation, which is it's a tight call. Let's just say it's a 50-50 call compared to a dude getting his helmet ripped off by a defensive lineman while getting sacked. It's a lot different there. So let's put it that way. We complain about Darnold, but yet our previous quarterback just went 2 straight games without a touchdown and is sitting on the bench right now. The Falcons are getting their money's worth. I mean, Darnold hasn't played good. Kirk Cousins and Sam Darnold, I feel like they've played pretty similar this season. Kirk Cousins has definitely played better, but I feel like the peaks have been almost the same. Kirk Cousins probably a little higher, and the valleys for Sam Darnold's a little bit lower, for sure lower. But again, I mean, the Vikings are 8-2. The Falcons aren't. The Falcons' defense also sucks. But again, I mean, it's apples and oranges. That's what you're comparing. Someone said his seat was never hot. He's about to get an extension, actually, just like I told y'all. And it was Kwesi striking gold in free agency this year. It's facts. Whether you like it or not, Kwesi is most definitely going to get extended after this season. I don't know for how long. I think Kevin O'Connell will get extended longer than Kwesi, but Kwesi will get extended 1000%. Someone said, F word people. On Labor Day, you were griping about how with McCarthy out. About how with McCarthy out, this team won't do jack shit this year. Well, guess what? They are 8-2. But because they had to battle to win 2 road games against bad teams, they must still suck despite being 8-2. If this team won the Super Bowl 31-30, a bunch of you would all still be bitching. A bunch of you would all still be bitching. Jeez, I cannot talk today. A bunch of you would all still be bitching because they only won by 1 point. And that is facts. That is facts. The most greedy fan base in the entire NFL, yet they've won absolutely nothing in order to be greedy. Just enjoy the ride. Enjoy the fact that your favorite team is 8-2. Move on to the next week. Move on with your life. Don't worry about it. Someone said Will Levis would be like Josh Allen in our offense. Oh my God. The fact that someone compared Will Levis to Josh Allen is absolutely disgusting. Someone said, you know what's going to suck? If being baited to move up in the draft to select JJ when Bo Nix could turn out to be 10 times better. 10 times better than JJ McCarthy. He hasn't even played a snap in an NFL regular season game. So why don't we hold the comparisons of our rookie quarterback who hasn't taken a snap in an NFL game to a guy who has? Let's just stop the comparisons right there. Everyone strokes the Lions. I freaking love that saying. That's a beautiful saying. Everyone strokes the Lions. That is so facts too. Everyone strokes the Lions, but in reality, they aren't that great. They just beat up on poor teams. See, I don't know about that. They've struggled versus every contending team they've played. We can beat them in the playoffs. Have faith. I believe it. We can beat them this season, still in the regular season. I got faith. Don't worry about it. 8-2. Let that sink in. Those that bitched in the past seasons about not winning close games should enjoy the ride. Man, what did I just say? Enjoy the freaking ride. That is so true. If the season ended today, the Vikings would play the Falcons the first round of the playoffs. If the Vikings won that day, that would be as good as a Super Bowl victory to me. It wouldn't be as good as a Super Bowl victory to me, but damn, that would be one hell of a win. Going into Atlanta, beating Kirk Cousins in the first round of the playoffs, imagine if they lost that game. It wouldn't be that big of a deal, but that would still suck to lose to Kirk Cousins in a playoff game. Yes, we didn't blow out the Titans, but did you have concerns we wouldn't win? I think I mentioned this earlier. There was never a concern about losing the game, I don't think. I mean, we were down 3-0, and that was about it. So there was never really that much concern for me. That concludes Vikings Facebook Scroll of the Week. It was a lot of repetition, man. A lot of the same people saying the same just negative stuff about how this team isn't good, and we're 8-2. Let's be for real now. Minnesota Vikings punishment update. If you're new, go to my Instagram. I have a list of punishments that I have to do if the Vikings lose the corresponding game. Of course, I've only had to do 2. I had to listen to Eminem for an entire day, and I had to style my hair like Sean McVay. Did those. Go check them out. This week was listening to an entire Zach Bryan album. Obviously, don't have to do that. Next up is getting Big Cat to tweet at me. I'm going to double check that just to make sure it's not the other Chicago one first, but I believe that is, tweet at Big Cat till I get a response. Avid Bears fan. I've had him tweet at me several times before. It's all about timing and just being on top of your game. So I got to be on top of my game. Vikings versus Bears preview. Listen, the Bears are heartbroken. The Bears haven't had a passing touchdown in the last 3 games. The Bears have nothing going for them. But yet, every single time the Vikings go into Soldier Field, it's a game. Don't get your hopes up that this is going to be a blowout. Don't get your hopes up that this team is going to look flawless and they're going to walk out of Soldier Field with a 50-0 win and everyone's going to be talking about the Vikings. Do not get your hopes up. Any single time the Vikings go into Soldier Field, it's a competitive game. It's November. It's a division game. They're always going to be tough no matter what. I do expect the Vikings to win. I think Caleb Williams is going to have a very, very, very hard time against the Brian Flores-led defense. However, Brian Flores said today in his press conference, the Bears have a new offensive coordinator. It's tough to get tendencies when a dude's only called 1 game. Again, it's tough to get tendencies when an offensive coordinator is only called 1 game. That could play a key role in this game. The Bears defense is not bad. They got good players. Dweeberflus, I don't know how good of a play caller he is, but he's all right. The Vikings establishing the run's going to be big. Getting the ball to Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison, obviously, it's the same points every single week because this team has the talent to do it, the playmakers to do it. It's just all about executing it to perfection. KOC is going to have a good game plan, but I really think this game is going to be decided Vikings defense, or it's going to be decided Vikings offense, Bears defense. I think whoever wins that battle is going to win this game, and I have confidence in the Vikings offense doing so. I'm looking forward to it. Division games, they're always fun, especially towards the end of the season. All right, ChatGPT, name the most random Vikings player you can think of. I'm going to go Matt Burke. Super Bowl champion Matt Burke. ChatGPT says, oh my God, how about Kaneki Uduze? He was a defensive end for the Minnesota Vikings from 2004 to 2007. While not a household name, he was a part of the team during some notable years and had a decent career before his early retirement due to a health issue. Yep, never was going to get that one. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Again, Strictly Leighton on all socials. Message me on Instagram if you want to say what's up, if you have any feedback for the pod. And guys, I am pleased to say we have a big guest lined up for next week. It should go through. There should be no issues about it. Big guest next week. You guys are going to love it. He's going to be awesome. There's a little hint. It's a he. He's going to be awesome. We're going to talk Vikes. We're going to talk old school Vikes. It's going to be awesome. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Have a good one.